Welcome to the PinLeader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The PinLeader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the PinLeader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about charting new courses, and I am glad to have with me Dr. Misha Stredrick, who leads with a deep commitment to student success, leadership development, and equitable learning opportunities. She serves as the Superintendent of the Maritime Academy of Toledo. She has more than 20 years of experience in education. She served as a teacher, an instructional coach, a principal, a mentor, and a leadership coach across urban school systems. Recognized nationally, she has been named Principal of the Year by the Ohio Association of Black School Educators, published in Principal Leadership magazine, and nominated for the Principal Heart of the Schools Award in Baltimore. Dr. Stredrick holds a Doctor of Education degree from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, a dual Master of Education degrees from Bowling Green State University, and she is also the CEO and founder of Heartfelt Leading Consulting, which is a firm dedicated to developing leaders through practical, holistic, and cultural responsive strategies. So without further ado, welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yes. And I know for those that have listened to my podcast, they know that I recently did a show with a sea captain, and I am so glad to have you here to talk about the Maritime Academy. Could you explain a little bit about that before we get into our questions?
Yes, we have an academy that is that starts at the grade 6 and goes into high school. So we start off students thinking about what are some of the skills and what are some of the trade areas that they want to go in, specifically regarding maritime. And we're looking at maritime careers. A lot of people think it's just boats, just ports, just things on the sea, but there's so many more things that are happening within that maritime specialty. You're thinking about engineering. You're thinking about who is manning the boat. You're thinking about the deckhands. You're thinking about the computer science skills. You're thinking about how is AI tapping into maritime. You're thinking about nursing and what does medical do, because on the boats, someone is always going to get hurt. Who handles that? And so all of those things, and even with culinary arts, we have a culinary arts department that is phenomenal and goes out and serves different individuals and organizations with their service. And so thinking of all of those things that we do on land, how are we preparing students for that, but preparing them specifically around maritime? And so that's what we do, and that's who we are.
Excellent, excellent. You know, what inspired your journey into educational leadership, and then how did it lead you to Maritime Academy? You're not a sea captain, are you?
I am not. And actually, Maritime Academy was just the maritime skills was almost a learning curve for me. But the population in which I'm serving is not a learning curve for me. And so my educational journey actually started off with me not necessarily wanting to be in education. I just had a love for serving people and for learning and just teaching and mentoring individuals, and ended up being recruited into education. Someone said to me, "You're a natural. We don't see naturals every day, and there's no way we're going to let you go into something else and it not be education." I'm grateful for that moment, because I feel like those are defining moments that God is shifting you. And by way of my leadership journey, I've had some amazing leaders and I've had some not so amazing leaders. And honestly, people talk about leadership and they often talk about the amazing leaders first. And I jumped the opposite way, because I had a leader that was not so amazing. And in my mind, I thought, if he can do it, anybody can do this job. And I feel like I can do it better, I can serve those who are in this population better. And that's what I decided to do. And I've had the opportunity to do all the things that you named in that beautiful introduction. But one of the things that I pride myself on the most is being able to serve our vulnerable populations and being able to serve those who need access, who need support with how do they get there. That extra push and providing them with that extra support in that hand is something that has led me by way of multiple states to Toledo, Ohio, where I am now at the Maritime Academy of Toledo, and just being able to serve them in a way that allows them to push this maritime theme and allows us to give our students and our parents and families a greater access and just resources in different ways that they haven't seen.
You know, you just hit on something that you don't typically hear, which is talking about bad leadership before talking about the good leadership.
Yes.
Right. I'm always honing in on, okay, what does it make for a good leader? And what are those attributes and how are they effective? But let's talk about this with the bad leadership, because, you know, when we talk about pivoting, especially when you have a challenge, you know, how did you navigate this bad leadership that you were talking about? How did you navigate and you were able to pivot to become a great leader yourself?
Yes. So I think the first thing you have to do is to make a choice. Do you follow that leadership, even though you know it's bad leadership, or do you make a change? And I think in that snap moment, you decide what your future looks like. And I was in a situation where I felt like children deserve better. Staff members deserve. I was a part of the staff. I was up under this person, and I felt like I deserve better. Staff deserves better. And this person is being rewarded for bad behavior in my mind. There was a lack of integrity. There was a lack of accountability. And I made it a point while I was in school with my master's to take every class that I could in becoming a principal. I hadn't decided if I wanted to be a principal for sure yet, but I said, I'm going to take every class because I want to know more about it. And I think that that's the first step that people have to do, is say whether or not they want to do something about it and then take the step. And for me, my step was, let me learn more about what it looks like to be a leader in that role, because there could be things that I misunderstand, and then take the step to strive to be that leader.
You know what? Talk to me about that. You've got Maritime Academy. It's not something that you find everywhere. And you've got students watching you, right? You are the leader, and they're trying to make career decisions, right? They've chosen to pick this academy specifically for a reason, but it might change. You know, how does this unique model benefit students? Because again, that's good leadership to demonstrate that. But can you talk about that?
Yes. The first goal is for our students to be able to have the access to as many things as possible. We know that we're Maritime Academy, and our goal is to get them into those career pathways that are maritime design. But we also recognize that there are students that will go a traditional collegiate route. We know that there are students that want to get a trade position directly outside. And so the goal is to get our students access to as many options as possible. Obviously, the first options that we're going to really hone in on are the options that are related to the maritime theme, and to make sure that we have our students, we've created almost a pathway for them to get into those positions. But I think that the model allows them to be able to see these positions that they've never seen before. In Toledo, Ohio, we have a unique position where we're on the water, right? We're on the Great Lakes water. And so there are so many positions that are available to an individual that just has a high school diploma, that is coming straight out and has the credentials in order to get directly on the boat and make a career of your lifestyle. And so we've had students in the past who have gotten six-figure jobs directly out of high school because we've had the ability at the school to help them to pursue the certificate while they were in high school and go directly into the field. We've had access to the Maritime Academy, which is in Michigan, which is where they would go afterwards in order to gain more skills to get into some of those careers. And so I think it presents an opportunity that many people in our community just hasn't seen before.
I think about all the roles and responsibilities that we recently, my husband and I were privileged enough to be able to go on a cruise, and we were able to see all these different roles and leadership being served in different ways, and talk about servant leadership. Quite a bit of that playing out. How does that, as a role, do the students, is it a cruise job? Where do you see your graduates going?
So there are quite a few things. I mentioned the Maritime Academy is one of them that is in Michigan. It's not that far away. Some of our students end up in roles where they pursue computer science. They pursue some sort of engineering where you are manning the electricity within the boat, where you're becoming a technician of some sort on the port, where you're able to actually see yourself in different fields. We have some students that want to be deckhands, that want to be, they want to steer the ship, or they want to do, they want to become the captain. And obviously you got to start at the bottom in order to get to the captain. Our kids think that you can start at captain, but, giving them access to be able to see it. We just recently went to the Great Lakes Museum for their career fair, and having our students be able to go to all these different individuals and these different job pathways, tugboats, and all these different ways, and for them to be able to experience, not everything you stay on the ship all day, right? Some of these positions, you get to go there, you do your job in love, and then you get to go home and be with your family. And as I said, Toledo is so unique because we have the water here, we have the positions here. Our school allows them to be able to see the pathway in a very tangible way that has not been experienced before.
Well, I know too that there are individuals who have traveled far to come into the academies. I know there's a number of, when you have this unique opportunity, it's not just in Toledo. For those listeners that are outside the state, those that are listening, even global, seeking these opportunities, as we had the sea captain in our prior show, that he's from Spain, and how he's got generations of those that are in his family. But there's history there, is what he's saying, and there's a passion for the sea. But if you're looking to, you're interested in going into this field or want to pursue this, what would you advise individuals who are thinking about, I want to have a life of sea? What would you tell them?
First off, come to Maritime Academy of Toledo. I think that was the perfect segue into that. Absolutely open to enrollment. So once again, we have 6th through 12th grade. So we would love to see you there, even if you have a spark of it, or even if you think maybe it's a possibility, right? But definitely join us. I think that once you join us, the goal then is to get you access and to just put you in rooms with individuals who are doing it. We had the opportunity for some of our young ladies to meet a captain who was a woman this past week. And so give them the ability to have almost an enlightenment of, this is not gender related, or it's not in a box of some sort, right? If you want to do it, you have the ability to do it. And so giving them the opportunity to be able to see what that looks like. Even something as simple as, the ship itself is made of a material. Somebody at some point in time has to fix that material when it goes down. If that's something you're interested in doing, there's ironwork, there's steel, there's things of that sort. Everything that you can almost imagine exists in this maritime field. And so our goal is to get those students to be able to see it. And so I think if you're interested in it, the first step is really looking at, the research around it. But if you're not a researcher, just get in the rooms and be able to see how many things are accessible in the maritime field.
So much of our listeners are older. They're not in high school. But they have children that may be interested in this. This is one way of getting in there. I do have individuals who are looking at second careers. And so if they're listening, this may be something, definitely pursue taking a look at this. If this is something of interest to you, if you've always wanted to try it, but you can definitely get education and get hands-on experience. There's opportunities. Do not hesitate to do your lookups out there and to do that. But if you've got children who are thinking about, with that age group that you're talking about, that 6th grade on through 12, this is just one many of the options when we're talking about vocational and training and hands-on. I look at the 3 characteristics. We talk about this with Pin leaders to be effective and successful. Again, your career has moved through different leadership scopes, right? Could you talk about how you rank the importance of strength, being straight with a plan, and then sharpness, having that education experience? How would you rank those, especially when you're pursuing a career in C?
So I think that having the ability to have a plan would be my top. I think that planning is so important. Some people will probably say I'm an over planner, which helps out in the field that I'm in. I'm in education, and education can go in circles sometimes. And having a strategic plan is so important. It's something that I even, I teach as well and help people to understand how important it is. But I think that at the same time, you also have to be flexible enough to understand your audience. And so I've had the blessing of being able to help so many communities, and every community has a different need. Every community has different concerns. Every community has a different culture. And so being able to figure out, even though I planned, how do I pivot when it's necessary for that audience and for that population that I'm serving? I also think that having the strength to be able to weather challenges is so important in education. Education right now is shifting like many other fields, but it is shifting in a very quick way and in a very strategic way, I think, that is going to impact many of our students in our communities that have their families have needs and have high needs in different areas. And so I think that being able to have the wisdom to know how to, what do you bear on your chest? What do I have to shoulder now as a superintendent that I haven't had to shoulder before is something that is going to take a different level of strength and a different level of wisdom that requires you to have some experience. My heart goes out to people who are new in education and leadership and are experiencing this for the first time, because they won't necessarily know what are some of the ways that we got around some of these things previously. And so I think the goal is for those leaders to connect with a mentor at this time.
Excellent. And now I'm going to get to the fun questions.
Give me a good one.
What are you reading and what are you watching? Is it educational based?
So most of the things I am reading is definitely not educational based. And when I finished my dissertation, I took a break from reading the educational stuff, other than the things that I'm giving to staff and people who need resources. So I am actually currently, I haven't been reading as much as I've been listening in the car on the drive. Like on the drive here, I am listening to the Whoopi Goldberg's newest book. I cannot think of the title of it, but she is in telling her life story and her experience with her mother and her brother. And so I just enjoy listening to other people's lifestyles and what has gotten them to this place, and especially if they have a unique perspective. And I think Whoopi is one of those individuals that has always stood her ground on what she believed in. And so for me, it's fascinating to hear how she got there. And what am I watching? So I watch a lot of what people would refer to as like ratchet TV. And so I am a Real Housewives person. I love the Married to Medicine. I am watching the Braxtons. So, and I have a ongoing conversation with my sister and my mother every morning. And our conversation derives around one of those shows. And so today our topic of conversation was the Braxtons and how we are not sure how they're going to make it out of this last episode. And so I'm looking forward to seeing episode 5, which will be coming up soon. I'm not giving them, I don't get paid to advertise them, but if you're looking for something that'll ease your mind and help you to realize it wasn't all that bad that day, these are good shows in order to do that.
Yeah, I used to call them the real TV, but you just know sometimes I'm like, is that real? Could that really be happening?
It can be.
But it's
I hope it's not.
I hope it's not either.
I really hope it's not.
I hope it's not either. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And sharing that. And hopefully we've encouraged some people to think about other roles and opportunities to go these different, again, the C is not something that some people think of immediately as a role, a career down the road, but I've actually witnessed it. I've seen it, and I would encourage anyone to explore it, especially if you want to be a leader in it. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners who are sharing and liking the show. We appreciate you as well. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, J. Foster Jewelers, family owned, offering the finest natural gemstones, stunning engagement rings, and brilliant diamonds. We thank you for your sponsorship. We also thank you to Jennifer Panzishan, Edward Jones Financial Advisor. Thank you so much for your continued support. And of course, until next time.
The PinLeader Podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates LTD, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the PinLeader Podcast and share with others.